Have you ever found yourself staring at the ceiling at night, wondering why everything feels so meaningless? As if no matter what you do, something is missing. You might have money, friends, even love, but deep down, a quiet voice whispers that none of it truly matters. Be honest. How many times have you felt like the entire world is falling apart? Endless wars, economic collapses, existential crises. Every generation is born believing it will inherit a better future. Yet the only certainty is this: everything dies. People, civilizations, ideas. Now imagine that none of this is an accident. Imagine that life is not a gift, but a mistake. That existence itself was doomed to destruction from the very beginning, and that this is not a tragedy, but the original intention. Absurd as it may sound, for Philipp Mainländer, this was the absolute truth. Few people know his name, but his worldview is among the most radical and disturbing in the history of philosophy. While thinkers like Schopenhauer claimed that life is suffering, and Nietzsche proclaimed the death of God, Mainländer went even further. God existed, but he did not want to exist, and so he killed himself. What remained of that self-destruction is the universe, matter, you, me, everything. And now, as fragments of this dead God, we are merely fulfilling the final destiny, total self-annihilation. Life is not evolving, it is not progressing, it is dying. From the day we are born, we are walking toward the end. But what does it mean to live in a world that should never have existed? If even God wanted to disappear, what is left for us? In this video, we will dive deeply into the philosophy of Philipp Mainländer, not to defend it, not to condemn it, but to understand it in its purest form, to face it directly, without filters, without fear. And everything begins with the most disturbing question Mainländer ever asked. If God is the creator of the universe, why did he choose to die? Imagine this scenario. You possess everything: absolute power, infinite knowledge, limitless freedom. You need nothing. You feel no hunger, no pain, no fear. You are complete, and yet the only thing you want is to disappear. If you had the choice, if you could simply cease to exist, would you do it? Now imagine this was not a hypothetical question. Imagine that this supreme being, this infinite entity, truly existed and decided to end itself. But unlike us, it had no physical body to destroy. It could not simply close its eyes and vanish. So it did something unthinkable. It destroyed itself from the inside out. It exploded its own essence, dissolving into countless fragments. And that is how the universe was born. This may sound like science fiction, but for Philipp Mainländer, this was reality. The world was not created by a loving God full of divine purpose. The world is God's corpse, the remains of his final decision, the desire not to be. Religion teaches us to see existence as a gift, the universe as a manifestation of divine will, a grand project filled with meaning and purpose. But what if that story is wrong? What if instead of intentional creation, the universe is an implosion, not an act of love, but an act of despair? Mainländer rejected the idea of an eternal God. For him, the only God that ever existed wanted one thing: nothingness. And when he disintegrated, each fragment of his being became matter, stars, planets, life itself. Every one of us is merely a small piece of that process of dissolution. We are all dying slowly, like a clock that was broken at the exact moment it was created. This leads to an unavoidable question. If even God wanted to disappear, what does that mean for us? Mainländer went beyond Schopenhauer's pessimism. For Schopenhauer, existence was suffering, but humans could still seek consolation in art, contemplation, and renunciation. Mainländer said something far more radical. Matter itself wants to die. This may sound absurd, but look around you. Everything that lives dies. Every civilization rises and collapses. Every human body begins aging the moment it reaches its peak. The universe is expanding, but one day it will fall into absolute silence. Death is not a flaw in existence, it is the rule. And what if this is the foundation of reality itself? What if from the very first moment, everything that exists has been trying to return to the nothingness from which it came? This may sound dark, but think carefully. Isn't this what we feel all the time? A deep exhaustion, an unexplainable desire for rest, a longing for something beyond life, something we cannot name. Perhaps this is not a human defect. Perhaps it is existence itself trying to fulfill its destiny. This idea places Mainlander in direct opposition to Nietzsche. Nietzsche shrouded to the world, God is dead. And for him, this was a call to overcome, to create new values, to affirm life. But Mainlander smiled at this declaration. For him, Nietzsche was still trying to save life, still searching for a reason to continue. There was no reason. God was not killed by humans. God killed himself. And everything we do now is simply following the path of that final act. While Nietzsche wanted humanity to dance on God's grave, Mainlander said there is no dance, no celebration, only a slow, inevitable end. But if this is true, if we are all simply following God's path, does that mean death is a relief? That destruction is the solution? No. Mainlander does not romanticize the end. He does not call for despair. His philosophy is dry, brutal, and direct. He does not preach, he observes. And he points to a single fact: everything that exists desires to stop existing. So what do we do with this truth? Now we must go even deeper, because if life is a mistake, what role does suffering play in all of this? Is suffering an accident, or is it the very engine of existence itself? Most people who talk about the end of existence do so from a distance. Intellectuals debate nihilism from comfortable rooms with stable lives, academic careers, and warm coffee in their hands. They write about the emptiness of life and then return to predictable routines. Philipp Mainländer was not one of those men. He did not merely think about the end, he lived it. Every line of his philosophy was written with the conviction of someone who saw no tomorrow. Every idea was a step toward the only conclusion that made sense to him. And when he finished his masterpiece, he knew he was done. The next morning, Philipp Mainländer was found dead, hanged. On his desk lay freshly printed copies of his definitive work, The Philosophy of Redemption. But how does someone reach this point? To understand Mainlander, we must return to his youth. He was born in 1841 in Germany under the name Philipp Batz. From an early age, he displayed sharp intelligence and a deep restlessness toward the human condition. Even as a young man, he felt that something about existence was fundamentally wrong, out of place, misaligned, unfinished. While others moved through life absorbed in routine, ambition, and social expectations, Mainlander felt like an outsider watching a strange performance unfold. At a young age, he encountered the philosophy of Arthur Schopenhauer, the great pessimist of the 19th century, and something inside him ignited. Schopenhauer claimed that life was governed by a blind, irrational force called the will, a force that drives us to desire endlessly, pushing us into an eternal cycle of longing, frustration, and suffering. We want, we obtain, we grow bored. We fail, we suffer, and the cycle repeats. But for Mainlander, Schopenhauer was still too optimistic. The will to live was not the fundamental force of the universe. It was the opposite. Everything that exists, Mainlander argued, is moving towards its own end. The true desire of existence is not continuation, it is cessation. Not life, but death. Not being, but non-being. What happened next in his life only reinforced this conviction. Mainlander attempted to live a normal life. He worked in a bank, he traveled, he enlisted in the military. He tried to integrate himself into society, to participate in its rhythms and expectations. But nothing felt real to him. Everything appeared artificial, like a grand theater play where everyone knew their role except him. He saw society as a massive distraction machine. People rushing to work, building careers, chasing love, wealth, and recognition. All of it felt like a collective attempt to forget something unbearable. To Mainlander, the world was not alive in any meaningful sense. It was already dying, and everyone was pretending otherwise. So he began to write obsessively. He poured his understanding of existence onto the page with relentless discipline. His thoughts were not emotional outbursts. They were structured, systematic, and logical. His philosophy was not born from despair. It was built from reasoning. Line by line, he constructed a worldview where suffering was not incidental, but essential. And then something symbolic happened. When Mainlander published The Philosophy of Redemption, he made a strange decision. He signed the work not as Philipp Batz, but as Philipp Mainländer, meaning inhabitant of the earthly world. This was not merely a pen name. For For him, it represented a death. Philip Botts was gone. What remained was only an observer, a man who no longer belonged to life itself. Mainlander believed that by fully understanding the truth of existence, he had already transcended it. He did not see himself as a martyr. He did not see himself as a tragic prophet. He saw himself as someone who had reached the logical conclusion of thought. He knew how the story ended and felt no need to remain inside it. But before dismissing his philosophy as dangerous or meaningless, we must confront an uncomfortable fact. Mainlander was not insane. He was not ruled by uncontrolled emotion. He was methodical, disciplined, and intellectually rigorous. He developed one of the most internally consistent theories about the end of existence ever written. And that is precisely what makes his ideas so disturbing. Because deep down, Mainlander may have touched something we desperately avoid. He did not see death as a tragedy. He saw life as the mistake. And if he was right, if everything we do, everything we build is merely a way of postponing the inevitable, if even our greatest joys are temporary distractions from the certainty that everything dissolves, then we must ask the next question. If life is a mistake, why does suffering exist at all? Why do we remain trapped in this cycle? If someone asked you a simple question, if you had the choice, would you have been born? What would your answer be? Most people hesitate. Not because life is entirely bad, but because we know the price is too high. The moments of beauty do not erase the weight of pain that accompanies them. Look at the world around you. Wars, hunger, misery, pain. From the very first moment, life is a struggle. A baby is born screaming. Its first reaction to existence is distress, as if it already understands what awaits. Childhood, which should be a time of innocence, quickly gives way to fear, disappointment, and loss. We grow up only to discover that nothing is as promised. Then comes routine, obligation, the demand to survive, to work, to build something that will eventually be destroyed. And all of this leads where? To aging, to illness, to disappearance. This is not sentimental pessimism, it is the basic structure of reality. And Mainlander was one of the few who dared to call it what it is, a mistake. Many philosophies attempt to give suffering a purpose. Christianity sees it as a test. Buddhism claims it arises from desire and can be transcended. Nietzsche urges us to embrace life so completely that we would choose to relive it eternally. But Mainlander rejected all of this. For him, suffering was not a path to something greater, it was the core of existence itself. Everything that exists is wearing down, fighting, resisting collapse. What we call life is nothing more than resistance against death. Your body fights disease, your mind fights pain, civilizations fight decay. Everything is eroding, slowly disintegrating, moving toward its end. History confirms this pattern. Empires rise and fall, societies collapse, wars repeat. Humanity appears trapped in a loop, an engine that keeps turning even though it is broken. Look at the Roman Empire, look at world wars, look at economic collapses, pandemics, environmental destruction. Progress does not eliminate suffering, it transforms it. Mainlander saw this clearly. Suffering is not an accident of life, it is its essence. And here, his philosophy becomes even more unsettling. If suffering is inevitable, then what keeps us alive? The answer is illusion, hope. We hope things will improve. We hope the next job, the next relationship, the next achievement will finally fill the emptiness. We invent religions that promise eternal life, technologies that promise a better future, philosophies that try to justify existence. But none of these change the fundamental truth. Everything that begins is destined to end. Time does not heal this, evolution does not solve it, civilization does not overcome it. Life is not moving towards something better, it is dissolving, slowly, irreversibly. So if all of this is true, what is our role in this process? Should we accept it? Should we fight it? Mainlander offers no comforting answer. He gives no path, no salvation, no hope. He simply invites us to look directly at reality, without illusions. Life does not need justification because it has none. It exists, and its destiny is to disappear. But if suffering is inevitable, then what is the role of death? Is death a liberation? That question takes us even deeper. If suffering is unavoidable, then what role does death play in all of this? Is death the true liberation? Is destruction the final solution? To answer this, we must step back and look at existence not from a personal, emotional perspective, but from a cosmic one. Think of everything that exists, from the smallest subatomic particles to the largest structures in the universe, from the first microscopic organisms to the most advanced civilizations. Now confront a single, undeniable fact. Everything is dying. This is not poetry, it is not metaphor, it is a physical reality. The cells in your body are aging at this very moment. Stars that appear eternal are slowly burning through their fuel, moving inevitably toward extinction. Galaxies drift apart, energy spreads thinner and thinner. The universe itself is expanding toward a future where there will be no heat, no light, no movement, only silence. Welcome to the truth no one wants to face. Death is not the opposite of life. Death is the destination of life. Mainlander did not see death as an isolated event at the end of existence. He saw it as the purpose towards which existence is always moving. God dissolved himself to create the world, and everything that followed is not advancing toward perfection, but to dissolution. This view stands in radical opposition to most religions and philosophies. Christianity treats death as a transition, a gateway to something beyond. Nietzsche treated death as a biological event, something to be accepted but ultimately overcome through affirmation of life. Mainlander rejected all of this. For him, death was not a passage, it was the final release. Not in the sense of a personal escape or an individual decision, but as a universal process. Matter, energy, consciousness, everything follows a single trajectory: disintegration. So if this is all true, why do we fight so desperately to stay alive? Why do living beings struggle against extinction? Why are we terrified of death? The answer lies in biology. Life, even if it is a mistake within this framework, is programmed to preserve itself, not for a meaningful reason, but through blind instinct. Our DNA is designed to replicate. Our nervous system is wired to avoid collapse. Our minds generate fear when confronted with the idea of non-existence. But instinct does not equal purpose. It only means we are biological machines delaying the inevitable. Human existence, in this sense, is like a candle burning brightly, not because it has meaning, but because combustion is its nature. And when the wax is gone, the flame does not mourn, it simply goes out. Now look around you. Watch people racing against time, chasing legacy, accumulating wealth, creating art, searching for meaning. All of it is understandable. All of it is human, but none of it changes the outcome. In the end, everything dissolves. So why are we so afraid of death? Because from childhood, we are trained to fear it. We are taught that life is sacred, that existence is inherently good. We are encouraged to ignore death, to hide it, to pretend it does not lurk behind every moment. We invent stories of eternal life. We pursue scientific immortality. We build philosophies to justify staying alive. Mainlander saw this as a collective hallucination. There is no eternity, no ultimate purpose, no spiritual redemption waiting beyond existence. The only true relief is the return to nothingness. And before this sounds unbearably dark, observe nature itself. When a river reaches the ocean, it does not resist, it dissolves. When a star collapses, it does not suffer, it simply fades. The idea that death is evil is a human invention. Death is not punishment, it is not failure, it is fulfillment. History reinforces this truth. The Roman Empire once dominated the world, then crumbled into ruins. Ancient Egypt, with all its grandeur, vanished. The Soviet Union, a modern superpower, collapsed almost overnight. Civilizations rise, peak, and decay like living organisms. Humanity itself, despite technological advancement, may be moving toward inevitable collapse through war, environmental destruction, or internal exhaustion. If Mainlander was right, there is nothing tragic about this. It is simply the universe completing its course. But this raises the final, unavoidable question. If everything is dying, if the end is inevitable, why are we still here? Is there any scientific framework that supports this vision? Any principle in physics, biology, or psychology that aligns with Mainlander's ideas? To answer this, we must confront modern science itself. Close your eyes for a moment. And imagine the universe 1 trillion years from now. There will be no stars, no planets, no life, only an endless expanse of near absolute zero, where time itself loses meaning. This is not speculation. It is the predicted outcome of thermodynamics. The universe is moving toward maximum entropy. And if Mainlander were alive today, he would likely nod in quiet recognition. Entropy tells us that all systems move from order to disorder. Heat disperses, energy degrades, structures collapse. The Big Bang was not the beginning of progress, it was the start of decay. Everything since has been a slow unwinding. This principle does not apply only to galaxies, it applies to life itself. Biology reveals that organisms contain built-in mechanisms of self-destruction. Human cells undergo apoptosis, programmed death, without which life would collapse into cancerous chaos. Species go extinct not as anomalies, but as part of natural cycles. Evolution is not a march toward perfection, it is a constant process of emergence and disappearance. Even human consciousness appears to carry the seeds of its own suffering. Rising rates of depression, anxiety, and existential despair suggest that awareness itself may be destabilizing. As intelligence increases, so does the recognition of meaninglessness. If life were inherently positive, why would it generate the desire to end itself? Psychology offers another piece of the puzzle. Much of human suffering arises not from material deprivation, but from lack of meaning. In modern societies where survival is no longer the primary struggle, people increasingly confront emptiness. They reach the top of the ladder, only to discover there is nothing there. Mainlander anticipated this. For him, dissatisfaction was not a flaw in society, it was the system working as intended. Humans are frustrated not because they have failed to find meaning, but because there is none to find. Life wants to disappear, but biology forces it to resist. The result is a species torn between two opposing forces, the instinct to survive and the longing to end. Even cosmology reflects this pattern. Consider the Fermi paradox. If the universe is vast and ancient, where are all the advanced civilizations? The most plausible answer is simple: they do not last. Civilizations emerge, grow, reach complexity, and collapse, either through self-destruction, exhaustion of resources, or existential stagnation. If this is the pattern, then perhaps Mainlander did not invent a radical philosophy. Perhaps he merely saw the pattern early. So now we arrive at the final threshold. What do we do with this knowledge? If everything is moving toward dissolution, if suffering is inevitable, meaning is absent, and the end is certain, what do we do with this knowledge? Mainlander does not offer comfort. He does not provide techniques, practices, or spiritual escapes. He does not promise happiness, salvation, or transcendence. His philosophy is not designed to soothe. It is designed to expose. He invites us to look at reality exactly as it is. Life does not need justification because it has none. It exists, and its destiny is disappearance. There is no hidden plan, no final reward, no cosmic audience watching our struggle. There is only the slow unfolding of a process that began with a divine act of self-destruction and continues through every form of existence. And yet, paradoxically, there may be something liberating in this. If life has no ultimate purpose, then it also carries no ultimate obligation. If existence is not a sacred mission, then failure loses its metaphysical weight. If nothing lasts, then nothing needs to be preserved at all costs. The burden of justification collapses. Perhaps the greatest suffering does not come from life itself, but from the demand that life must mean something. Mainlander removes that demand. He does not ask us to celebrate death, nor does he urge us to abandon life. He simply removes the illusions that surround it. What remains is a raw confrontation with reality, unfiltered, uncompromising, and silent. And silence, for Mainlander, was not terrifying, it was redemption. In the end, his philosophy does not say, end your life. It says, understand what life is. He believed that the universe is a long farewell. Every structure, every organism, every thought is part of a gradual winding down. Not toward punishment, not toward judgment, but toward rest. And this changes how we see suffering. Suffering is not a lesson, it is not a test, it is not a stepping stone towards something higher. It is simply the friction created by existence resisting its own conclusion. Life struggles because it is programmed to struggle, not because the struggle has meaning. Once this is understood, suffering loses its mystery. It becomes mechanical rather than moral. And perhaps this understanding allows a strange form of peace. Not hope, not optimism, but clarity. Mainlander believed that clarity itself was enough, that seeing the truth, however brutal, was preferable to living inside comforting illusions. He refused to lie to himself, even if the truth led him to the edge. That is why his philosophy still unsettles us today, because it does not attack life emotionally, it dismantles it logically. And logic, when followed without compromise, can be more disturbing than despair. But before misinterpreting this philosophy, one thing must be made absolutely clear. This video is not an appeal to abandon life. It is not an encouragement of despair. It is a philosophical analysis. Philipp Mainlander's ideas are explored here to understand them, to examine their coherence, and to confront the questions they raise, not to promote harmful actions. Philosophy exists to question, not to command, to provoke thought, not dictate behavior. If you are struggling, if these ideas resonate too deeply, seek connection, speak to someone you trust, reach out for professional help. You are not weak for doing so, you are human. Questioning existence does not mean giving up on it. And if you made it this far, that alone says something important. Thinking deeply about life, about suffering, meaning, and mortality is not easy. It requires courage to face ideas most people avoid. So before anything else, thank you for staying. Thank you for thinking. If you want to support this kind of content, consider becoming a channel member or using Super Thanks. It helps keep deeply researched, thoughtful videos like this possible. And if you can't contribute financially, that's completely fine. Watching, liking, and sharing already makes a real difference. If this video made you think, if it challenged you, unsettled you, or opened a new perspective, leave a comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. Is existence a mistake? Is death liberation? Or is there still room for meaning even in a universe that is fading? Let's discuss. And if you're not subscribed yet, consider subscribing for more videos exploring philosophy, existence, and the most unsettling questions of human life. We'll see you in the next video.